Hi, my name is Sarah Kornfeld and I'm the author of The True. I'm so honored to be with you virtually at LibFest. I'm so excited that the book is going to be published by Editura Integral out of Romania, and thrilled to be a new member of your community. I wrote this book after researching it. I came to visit Ducu Darie, who was a love of mine, but a great friend for 30 years, and found myself deluded by myself, actually. This book is an exploration of identity. It's an exploration of nationalism. It's an exploration of theater, which I also grew up in the theater. And it's an exploration of how women process grief. And in the end, I think Maria Mew is the star of the book. So I am so delighted to be here with you, and thank you all genuinely for your support of the book. Hi, my name is Sarah Kornfeld, and I'm an American author. I was born and raised in the theater of New York City. My dad was the managing director for the Living Theater, and then one of the founding artistic directors for Judson Poets Theater. I was a trained dancer. I was on stage by the time I was 6. I started writing very, very early. And then we had a terrible crisis in America, which was the AIDS crisis. And we lost about 100 friends in the theater. And I don't know, I hit 21. I had studied the Royal Court Theatre in London, and the heartache of not being with friends anymore that were now dead led me to try something new. And I moved to San Francisco, and I became a producer and communications expert in the internet. So I kind of went away for a little while there. But I stayed with it quietly, writing. And when I hit 50 years old, I was published, my first novel. And now I have The True, which is coming out, and about 3 other books that are coming out in the next 3 years. And I'm just so pleased to meet you. I've been asked when was the last time that I saw Ducu. I went to Romania when someone told me that he was sick. Ducu didn't tell me he was sick. He told me he had some problems. He hid it from me. And someone finally told me the truth, that he was very, very ill, and I got on a plane, which was a risk because I didn't know if he would see me. And he did. It took a while. We had friends that helped to coordinate the meeting, and I did a reading of my first novel, and he came and he listened, and we sat, and he finally told me the truth. And the truth that he was probably going to die. And then he invited me to dinner, which I write about in the book. And we didn't talk about the illness. We talked about life. We made jokes. We called people friends. And then on my birthday, which is August 18th, a month to the day of his death, we spoke on my birthday, and we didn't mention it. We didn't mention death. We just celebrated life. I've been asked if I have a strong soul connection with Ducu. Yes. I have a strong soul connection with Ducu. I have now a very strong soul connection with Maria. In some ways now, I feel more connected to Maria than I do to Ducu. But the soul connection that I have to him It started when we met at the Royal Court Theatre in London in 1990, and we're both only children who grew up in the theatre with fathers that were theatre stars. And that was the first connection, that we came from totally different worlds, America and Romania, but that was like the central connection for us. And that connection was something that over the 30 years of our friendship and connection, we could always come home to. Was what was it like to be born and raised in a theater? And how do you reconcile reality when what you're most comfortable with is illusion? And we got each other on this level. Yeah. I've been asked what would Duku think after reading the book? Well, I'm relatively sure I know what he would say to me. I actually hear him say it to me, which is, "Baby, are you crazy? You're crazy. Why are you writing a book about me?" Yeah, I think he would think it was crazy. But I think that after he read it, I think he would say to me, "Oh, you really wrote a book about yourself, and you really wrote a book about the theater. And you're really trying to come to terms with your own meaning." And that's where Duku was very generous. When he could look at your work and step back and see you. I wrote my first short story when I was 21, when Duku and I were together. And he told me after reading it that he would admire me forever for having tried. And that stayed inside of me. And so I'm relatively sure that he would say, "Wow, good for you for trying. Good for you for grappling with this." I don't know what he would think of the outcome, but he was a pretty open-minded person. I think he would love the attention. I think he would love the attention. Yeah, probably. I've been asked the question of why did I choose to write a book about Alexandru Darie? Well, I mean, he was an interesting cat, right? I mean, he was an interesting human being who lived a very complicated and interesting life. And I've written The True thinking that actually I wrote a book about myself. I wrote a book about being a woman. I wrote a book about forgiveness. And I wrote a book where, in fact, Maria Mew, in my opinion, becomes the star of the book. And I think that Duku deserves a book. I mean, he's an interesting person. He's a serious artist. He's a complicated person, not an easy person. But those are the people that we should really look at and say, what connects us to them? What bravery did he show? What didn't we notice? And I think that writing about him is a celebration of his life, but it's also something I think that he would like, which is to take his life seriously and to give it a little bit of time and consideration. Costa Postolash, who's the publisher of Editura Integral, had a fabulous idea. When he and I were talking about the manuscript, we decided to have it translated into French and Romanian and English. So it comes out on the same day in English and Romanian, then it comes out in French in November, and then it'll be in a box set. But he posed a fantastic challenge to me. He said that he felt that the book was so filled with ideas that it sort of was like a bottle of wine. It needed to breathe. It needed air. So I created 20 different pages of content for the French version and for the English version. The Romanian version is the base version. Any and ever version that comes from it will come from the Romanian version. That version in Romanian, if anyone ever reads any one of them, that's the one I would want them to read. The English version has more stories of being in New York, of Duku's experience in New York. The French version has more discussion about what it was like in the 1990s and how France seemed like the place that we all wanted to go. So the different versions all together, it's a puzzle. And human life is a puzzle, and memory is a puzzle. And how we put our memories together, it's a journey. And so if anyone can read all three, I would love to know what you think. Because I'm a stupid American and I only speak English. I speak enough French to order from the menu and enough Romanian to get a coffee. So I'm really, really, really excited because I think that in general we're being lost in translation in the world, and we need to make an effort to learn our languages or to find a way to connect. Hi, this is a message for Romanian readers of this book. My family, my father's side of the family is Hungarian. We're from Pest. And my family left because they were Jewish and they were translators of languages, and they felt in danger. And so they went to America. My experience in my connection with Duku and with my travels to Romania, it's a return for me. I'm returning home on a very deep level. And though I'm not Hungarian, though I'm not Romanian, I'm Hungarian, I'm American, I feel very connected to you. And I know that's kind of weird. Awkward, maybe even. But there is something to the DNA. There is something to genetics. There is something, and certainly for Americans, that are almost plagued with a sense of loss. That our families left our home countries and we assimilated into America, but it doesn't feel right all the time. I feel more comfortable in Europe, and I feel very comfortable in Romania, and I feel very comfortable in Central Europe. And so I hope that you'll join me in The True. I wrote it with deep respect, and I hope that we'll have an interesting dialogue and discussion when I come to Romania, which I hope will be in 2022. Thank you.